steps of organizing on policy issues that impact our community the most. And that's why us as the Black Mental Health Task Force have really focused on initiatives that really inspire and promote community defined practices, cultural specific interventions, and really bringing together healing and wellness practices for the Black community.
So following in leaders' footsteps like John Lewis, we continue the good trouble, and we are the force to be reckoned with as we move through these streets.
So making good trouble is really important for us. So we are ensuring that we're holding policymakers to their promises, that we're helping oversee the implementation of policies to ensure that our communities have access, and we're using our voice, the voice that Martin Luther King empowered us to have, to be able to spread the word and promote wellness in our community.
Yeah, and we're hiring Black people, we're improving the lives of Black people through services. So come check us out, blackmentalhealthtaskforce.net.
Hello, representing Association of Black Women Physicians, I'm Dr. Roberta Dusay, past president in 2007.
And I'm Dr. Jessie Sherrod, founding president of the Association of Black Women Physicians, 1982.
Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. proclaimed that of all the forms of inequality and injustice in healthcare is the most shocking and inhumane.
Association of Black Women Physicians are courageous boots on the ground, marching for justice and equity in a broken healthcare system.
40 years of service advocating for health, justice, equity, and equality through our excellent community health practices and community education.
Empowering Black women to lead in health and wellness for ourselves and for our community. Creating and supporting a pipeline to increase the number of future Black physicians to end health disparities.
And our Association of Black Women Physicians is Dr. King's dream in healthcare in action. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Bonnie Turpin. I'm the founder of Sola Food Co-op, and we are opening a full-service grocery store in South Los Angeles that will be owned by the community. I feel like Dr. King's mission dovetails with Sola's because, in my opinion, cooperative businesses are the most humanitarian businesses there are. It is inclusive. It is about, the business is more about caring and providing the need that whatever that business identifies the need to be. It's more about that than about profit. It's not just about making money. It's about people coming together and working together to make their lives better. So I think that most of what Dr. King preached was about love, really, about how we need to be fair to each other and love one another and try to be more godlike in that way, and inclusive, and everyone, everyone should be welcome everywhere. So co-ops, I think, are the way to go.
My name's Renee Henderson. I'm with Community Coalition. I'm the office manager, and I have the privilege of greeting everyone that comes through the door. Community Coalition transforms the social and economic conditions in the community. We also do civic engagement. We have a youth program called the South Central Youth Empowerment Through Action. We also have a kinship program where we provide facility, resources, and also stipends to grandparents who have found themselves foster parents. One of the important legacies that we'd like to keep alive is Martin Luther King's true dream is to bring us all together and to sustain us through organizing. Hence the reason why we're starting an organizing fellowship and also an organizing national effort to the different communities all over America so that they can learn some of the principles that Martin Luther King has taught us through organizing. And that's what we do at Community Coalition.
My name is Sir Love One, aka Sir James Bailey. I'm a humanities facilitator right here at Free LA High School, a part of Youth Justice Coalition, which is a part of Youth Build. What we're doing here in following the spirit of Dr. King is reaching into a new paradigm of education that honors every individual, their social emotional growth, and their experiences. Because we've learned that honor reduces the swelling inside of our bodies of shame caused by traumatic events. We've learned that commitment to one another reverses the damages of distrust and betrayal. Loyalty, honor, commitment, and loyalty. So what we're doing here is honoring the students' experiences by teaching from that point of view. This community is advocated for alternatives to incarceration. We build things that describe architecture in the world with arts in a new way. For example, the Washington Monument. We're creating a project where we create the Tekken, which is a three-sided obelisk, to honor the lives lost in transatlantic slave trade and white supremacy. We continue to learn about automating banishment report. And thank you to South Coast Air Quality Management for including us in this.
Go ahead, Governing Board Member Krakow.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Gideon Krakow, Governor Newsom's appointee to the South Coast AQMD Governing Board. We welcome you to the 9th annual Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day of Service, entitled Living, Dreaming, Believing in a Clean Air Future. Today is a day for reflection and inspiration. It's not an easy time for so many. The pain and anxiety of COVID, political polarization, fears over our democracy and voting rights, economic inequity. Yet, Dr. King's legacy teaches us to keep our heads up, dream for better times, and treat each other and our own selves with dignity and respect. Dr. King said, "Darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that. Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. And we are all caught in an inescapable network of mutuality. Love is the only force capable of transforming an enemy into a friend." And that's how we at the South Coast, board and staff, try each day to approach our work. Our hope is that after today's program, each of you will join us in that mission, the priority to reduce the air pollution that affects the health of our communities and quality of life for the 17 million residents we serve. Our region still suffers from some of the worst air quality in the nation. In fact, nearly 2/3 of California's environmental justice communities that face the disproportionate impacts of air pollution are within South Coast's 4-county area, including Los Angeles, San Bernardino, Riverside, and Orange counties. It's especially important for each of us to commit and work each day to reduce air pollution and environmental inequity. These are acts of love for each other, for our communities. Just as we saw the community organizations in the videos that were playing before I started speaking, I hope everyone could see that. The videos showed how individuals are making a difference. We commend each of these organizations, noting all the strong women especially, who shared their own missions in the spirit of Dr. King's leadership with us today. Thank you, Black Mental Health Task Force, the Association of Black Women Physicians, South LA Food Co-op, Community Coalition, COCO, and YJC, the Youth Justice Coalition. Dr. King's legacy lives today, guiding the efforts of so many to advocate, to persuade, to love in the quest for equity and air quality justice in our communities. I'm so excited for all of you to hear today from our inspirational speakers and the musical artists. I also want to recognize the attendance of Vice Chair of the South Coast Governing Board, Senator Vanessa Delgado, also Vice Mayor of Long Beach and AQMD Board Member Rex Richardson is here today. Vanessa and Rex, thank you for your leadership, for your love of public service. And now, my pleasure to introduce our MC for today's program, Brooke Thomas, journalist and news anchor. Ms. Thomas began her broadcast career as an intern on Access Hollywood in Los Angeles, which helped lead her to her first job as a reporter out there in North Dakota. Since then, she found success in several news markets in Tennessee, Texas, Pennsylvania, and now blessed to have her back in Los Angeles. You recognize her from the morning show Good Day LA on Fox 11. Here is someone who really does love her work, and she's a great reason to wake up early each day. Please join me giving a warm welcome to our MC, Brooke Thomas. Ms. Thomas, thanks for being here.
Thank you so much. And I feel like you ad-libbed a little bit at the end there, and it touched me a little bit. Thank you. I do really love my work, and I really love being able to participate here in this with you all today. Thank you so much for having me. Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much, Governing Board Member Krakow, for the incredible introduction. Thank you to the South Coast AQMD for having me here to celebrate such an important person, such an important day. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., his vision for equity, for justice, it is one of, I think, the greatest things about my job, being able to tell stories that lend to that. Our program today features organizations, leaders, artists that are taking actions each day so that we can all live, we can all dream, and believe in a better quality of life for all, including an environment with clean, healthy air for all to breathe. We also want to thank Mr. Thomas Evans, otherwise known as Detour, for creating the amazing artwork of Dr. King used in today's program. I think, and I know many agree, it is truly a masterpiece. All right, before we begin with the program, please welcome Tim Kepler for the national anthem. Mr. Kepler is principal national anthem performer for the Anaheim Ducks and the Los Angeles Angels. Welcome to the screen, Mr. Tim Kepler.
Thank you so much. Well, let's all pay tribute to this great country, this great nation, by singing the national anthem. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we held at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and the bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Thank you so much. Thank you for your amazing voice and for starting our day like that. Thank you so much, Mr. Kepler. So to guide us in invocation today, we are led by Reverend Dr. Mary S. Minor of the African Methodist Episcopal Church here in Los Angeles. Reverend Minor is an ordained elder in the AME Church, the oldest African-American Christian denomination in the entire United States. Dr. Minor, we are ready to receive your invocation.
Good morning, and it's great to be alive, and it's great to be here with you celebrating this occasion. So let us pray. Today we invoke the presence of the Almighty God of creation, the maker of earth and sky, air and water, wind and fire, rain and sunshine, birds of the air, lily of the fields, and you and me. We invite the God of community to enter this virtual community to bring order and reason and sustained thought to this assembly, to connect us all, to be like-minded on one accord, and to do the right thing. This is the life we live, the dream we dream, the belief we believe, a clean air future. We impress upon you, Almighty God, the God of consciousness, to empower each speaker with life-enabling words of inspiration and encouragement. Thank you, God, for the staff of the South Coast Air Quality Management District who gathered us today. Thank you, God, for each participant and attendee who responded to the clarion call of worship and witness and work. To the God who commissioned the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. to bring community out of chaos, this we pray. Amen.
Thank you so much, Reverend Minor, for that powerful prayer. At this time, I want to take a moment to acknowledge elected officials and other distinguished guests in the audience. Council Member Yesenia De La Rosa, City of Avalon. Mayor Pro Tem Colleen Wallace, the City of Banning. Mayor Pro Tem Aurelio Ribolo, City of Commerce. Councilmember Paulette Francis, City of Gardena. Councilmember Alexandre Montero, City of Hawthorne. Councilmember Rebecca Gomez, City of Tustin. And of course, we also want to thank representatives from all other local, state, and federal offices in attendance. Next, we are fortunate to be able to share a tribute video honoring some of Dr. King's most powerful words. Please draw your attention now to the video on the screen.
Criminal responses are environmental and not racial. Economic deprivation, social isolation, poverty, and ignorance breed crime, whatever the racial group may be. And it is a torturous logic to use the tragic results of segregation as an argument for the continuation of it. It is necessary to go back to the causal root. Say, God sent us by here to say to you that you're not treating his children right. And we come by here to ask you, item on your agenda, fair treatment where God's children are concerned. Therefore, the question on the agenda must read, why should there be hunger and privation in any land, in any city, at any table, when man has the resources and the scientific know-how to provide all mankind with the basic necessities of life? Even deserts can be irrigated and topsoil can be replaced. We cannot complain of a lack of land, for there are 25 million square miles of tillable land, of which we are using less than 7 million. We have amazing knowledge of vitamins, nutrition, the chemistry of food, and the versatility of atoms. That is no deficit in human resources. The deficit is in human will. The well-off and the secure have too often become indifferent and oblivious to the poverty and deprivation in their midst. And I think we are in a new era, a new phase of the struggle, where we have moved from a struggle for decency, which characterized our struggle for 10 or 12 years, to a struggle for genuine equality. And this is where we are getting the resistance, because to go this far. People were reacting to Bull Connor and to Jim Clark, rather than acting in good faith for the realization of genuine equality. But I must say tonight that I know that justice is indivisible. Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. Number one in your life's blueprint should be a deep belief in your own dignity, your own worth, and your own somebodyness. Don't allow anybody to make you feel that you are nobody. Always feel that you count. Always feel that you have worth, and always feel that your life has ultimate significance.
We extend our thanks to the estate of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. for allowing us to share those historical images and speeches. You know, what a strong reminder of Dr. King's legacy. It is up to all of us to continue the fight for environmental and social justice. It is now my pleasure to introduce South Coast Governing Board member and Long Beach Vice Mayor Rex Richardson. Vice Mayor Richardson co-chairs South Coast AQMD's Marine Ports Committee and sits on the Climate Change and Stationary Source Committees. As Vice Mayor of Long Beach, he championed the Everyone In Economic Inclusion Initiative established by the city's Office of Equity, expanded shelter capacity to address homelessness created by the PATH Young Adult Diversion Program, and led the city's My Brother's Keeper initiative. Please welcome Governing Board member Rex Richardson.
Well, thank you, Brooke. It's an honor to present today California Secretary of State, Dr. Shirley Weber, as our keynote speaker. Appointed by Governor Newsom, Secretary Weber serves as California's first Black Secretary of State and only the 5th African-American to serve as a state constitutional officer in California's 170-year history. She has fought to secure and expand civil rights for all Californians. Before her appointment, Secretary Weber served 4 terms as an assembly member, representing California's 79th Assembly District, which includes parts of San Diego. During her tenure in the legislature, Secretary Weber was in the vanguard of promoting voting rights, criminal justice reform, civil rights, and quality education. From 2019 to 2020, she served as chair of the California Legislative Black Caucus, which has the goal of promoting equal opportunity for California's African-American community. Weber broke records during her tenure by garnering extraordinary support for California Legislative Black Caucus's efforts and its projects. Please welcome to your screen, Dr. Shirley Weber.
Thank you so much for the invitation to be here. I am honored to be with all of you today. And thank you so very much for the wonderful introduction, Councilman Richardson, and so many of you who are here as a part of the celebration. You know, I'm always honored when we do not forget to honor Dr. King, that we don't take this as a normal day, that is something that we should just have as a day off. As we often say, it's not a day off, it's a day on. And it's a time to understand and recommit ourselves to the tremendous struggle that lies ahead. You know, I've been honored by the governor to be appointed the first African-American to serve as Secretary of State of California, the largest voting population in the nation, and the 5th largest economy in the world. And so I'm honored to do that, mainly because I understand the tremendous challenge we face in this nation. As a child of sharecroppers from Hope, Arkansas, understanding what it's like to be excluded and disregarded. I understand what it's like to struggle in life, being raised in the pueblos of Los Angeles, the projects, to know what it's like to basically have a family that believes in you and a church that prays for you, to overcome the challenges of life. And so I'm honored to be here today, and I'm honored that this association, that the South Coast Air Quality Board is basically honoring and participating in this effort, and has done this for many years, and not believe that it's somebody else's job, some social service group that should do it, but really the Air Quality Board, because it talks about the really most fundamental issue that all of us need, which is clean air and clean water, and those things that are essential, most fundamentally essential to life. You know, I was one of what I call the orange ring children in Los Angeles, who woke up every day to see if there was an orange ring around our city, and there was. And we looked for the discussion of whether this was an orange day or a yellow day or whatever it was, which told us about how we would breathe and whether we could breathe fairly and easily in Los Angeles. And so I remember smog. In fact, I remember it so well that when I finally saw fog, I didn't know what it was. I was wondering the difference between smog and fog, because a fog was a part of my life in Los Angeles and a part of where we grew up, and the neglect that was there, and also the indifference with regards to people who were poor living in those conditions. There was not much effort to talk about how do we improve that quality of life, the most fundamental quality for everyone in Los Angeles. And so I was pleased when some progress began to be made. And I know that there's still much to be made, having been in the legislature and dealing with the issues of pollution in so many communities still that remain, and the indifference sometimes that we have in creating change that's there. But it is so important that we never forget from whence we've come, that the struggle continues for each and every one of us, that the battle moves forward, and that even in these difficult, extremely difficult times that we find ourselves, that we will not allow the legacy of Dr. King be sullied and disregarded and disrespected by us by not taking action. You know, there are a lot of lessons we learn as young people and when we were raised up around King, and a lot of things that continue today. But we have learned that, and we should have learned that, we said at the time of King's death, that you can kill the dreamer, but you can't kill the dream. And that is so true, but we can kill the dream. And that becomes important for us to understand, that we pledged ourselves to, we celebrate Dr. King, we talk about the wonders of King, but we have to also realize the fact that while someone actually physically took his life, we can actually sully and take his dream by not fulfilling the dream itself and the challenge that has been passed to each and every one of us. These are horrible times. I can tell you, when we look at voting rights across this nation, it is frightening to see what is happening. It is frightening to see what King talked about in terms of the governors of this nation who had their lips dripping with the words of interposition and nullification. In other words, who were talking about states' rights, that the state could basically undo all federal law. We see that, and that is what is happening as people begin to write 400 different laws in various states concerning the voting rights and whether or not you can give a person a drink of water who's standing in line. All of these things designed to limit the ability of those who need us the most, the poorest of us, the least of us, who need to exercise their right to vote. King recognized very clearly that the most powerful thing he could do was to empower people to vote. Because why? Because in a democracy, there is no division among individuals. Every person gets one vote. I may be Secretary of State in charge of the voting in California, but I get one vote. And my one vote is as powerful or as weak as someone who is homeless, who without any housing, without resources. Their one vote is as powerful as my one vote. What a statement of equality. What a statement of how you change the narrative and you change the discussion around who gets resources and who does not get resources through the voting. King understood that. And each one of us should understand that these efforts to take away our voting rights is really an attack upon the power that we have. That one vote that you have rivals that of Elon Musk, anyone else, because it is one vote, one person. That's the foundation of our democracy. And so we have to fight for that. And so as we talk about air quality, as we talk about change, we talk about the quality of life, that changes when the people who are making the decisions change. That they are the folks who now are raising issues. Why? Because they're the children. I'm the child of an environmental situation. I'm the child when people did not have resources that they could not provide for them families adequately. I am the child who basically could not Parents could not vote in Arkansas and came to California for that. So I understand that. And when you empower those children, this generation, we should do better. We should be stronger. We should be more persistent because we have more resources, we have more knowledge, and we have the history and the background of a king to show us what to do. We cannot let this fail. We cannot let the things that we fought for become weak and become indifferent. And I only have a small time to talk to you. My time is basically up, but I just want to say a couple of things that are really, really important. You know, I say this to the legislature all the time, that our life is like a garden of life. And when you think of the things that are really important, it's like a rose that requires attention and perseverance and training, and you have to water it, and you have to watch it, and you have to prune it, and you have to shape it, and you end up with a beautiful garden. But the discrimination, the indifference, the hatred, the things that we face in life is like a weed, and it grows best in neglect. When we fail to pay attention, when we fail to be persistent, when we think we're too tired and we don't want to deal with it anymore, that is when we see what is happening now. That is a hatred we see across this nation because we haven't paid close attention to those to help them understand the struggle that's there. That's the kind of indifference we see when people don't understand Jim Crow laws and think voting integrity is okay because that will secure elections, as if our elections are not secure. That's what happens when we don't pay attention and adequately educate our children about the issues of civil education and civic responsibility and all those things that are critical. King paid attention, and he understood every day of his life that he had to pay attention to the things in this country that make sure that we were always on the path and never let any small thing become something that you just shuffle aside. We have to pay attention. We have to take up the banner that King has left us. And to not do that, we go back and say someone killed the King in 1968. But the question is, are we killing King today? And so it's extremely important that we not kill the dream, that we live up to his expectation, that we pay tribute to him on days like this. But the tribute that we pay is not just today, but it is the dedication and the commitment of our lives to bring change for everyone in California and in this nation and this world. I hope you will help me as we continue to prune our garden, to water those beautiful flowers, so that we can wake up every day and know that this world is better, that those who gave it to us made it better for us, and that we have a commitment and responsibility to do likewise. Have a wonderful King Day.
Thank you so much, Dr. Weber. You're right, we have to pay attention. Thank you so much. Please welcome back Vice Mayor Richardson to introduce this year's Environmental Justice for All honoree.
All right, well, I have to say, certainly a timely and inspiring message. Secretary, thank you so much for bringing those comments to us on this King Day program. And thank you, Brooke. It is my privilege to present this year's Environmental Justice for All Award to LA County Supervisor Holly J. Mitchell, representing the 2nd District. I'm a big fan of Holly Mitchell. She currently chairs the first all-women-led Board of Supervisors in the history of Los Angeles County. As the daughter of parents who were public servants and a 3rd-generation Angelino, Mitchell understands and leads with a deep understanding of the vital safety net LA County provides for millions of families, is committed to ensuring that all residents can thrive. Since being elected to the Board of Supervisors in 2020, Supervisor Mitchell has made the alleviation of poverty a county-wide priority. She's anchored an equitable recovery plan from the health and economic pandemic caused by COVID-19. This is critical as we are learning that higher exposure to air pollution, which compromises our health, may lead to increased rates of COVID. Additionally, within her first year as supervisor, Mitchell helped lead LA County to be the first in the nation to phase out urban drilling and many other initiatives that impact the health and quality of life for Los Angeles residents. Before serving on the Board of Supervisors, Mitchell served for a decade in the California legislature. During her tenure, she passed over 90 bills. She also became the first African-American to serve as chair of the Senate Budget and Fiscal Review Committee, where under her guidance, she helped the state of California successfully build its financial reserves. I'm honored to present the Environmental Justice for All Award to Supervisor Mitchell for her leadership and contributions to help clean our air, protect public health, and improve quality of life for all.
Good morning. I'm Supervisor Holly Mitchell, Chairwoman of the Board of Supervisors, and I'm honored to receive the Environmental Justice for All Award from South Coast Air Quality Management District. Thank you. It means a great deal to me personally to be honored by you and to be part of the powerful legacy of recipients. When we reflect upon Dr. King's lasting legacy, we often think about his leadership to ensure the unencumbered right to vote, to end segregation, and to demonstrate nonviolent civil disobedience. Dr. King's powerful message on being our brother's keeper transcended siloed issues. He taught us to develop a dangerous unselfishness. His message is a mandate for our work toward environmental justice. For example, as the threat of the climate crisis worsens, our LA communities are breathing some of the most polluted air in this country. This burden is not uniformly shared. Black and brown communities are 3 times more likely to breathe polluted air than their white counterparts. Dr. King once said, and I quote, "Whether or not we feel personally responsible for knocking our neighbor down, we're all responsible for picking our neighbor up as if our own brother or sister were down." We can and must address the racial disparities in our fight for true environmental justice. The 8 decades of work from the South Coast Air Quality Management District focused on cleaning the air and protecting the health of all residents, particularly the most vulnerable. That embodies Dr. King's message of mutuality. I'm proud of your legacy and work you're doing in the 2nd Supervisorial District. I share your sense of urgency to act against the most harmful pollutants to our communities. Last year, with the support of the Board of Supervisors and dedicated environmental justice advocates, I passed 2 of the most restrictive motions for the oil and gas industry in the nation to phase out urban oil drilling in LA County and to develop a roadmap to justly transition workers and the surrounding communities into more sustainable clean energy jobs and businesses. Investing in zero emissions transit is one of the best things we can do for the environment, but it's nothing if people can't properly rely or safely ride transit. And as a Metro Board Director, I'm working hard with my colleagues to ensure that transit is safe, reliable, and affordable. We fought to keep buses free in the midst of the pandemic, to transform how low-income families pay for their fare, and to redefine how we deliver public safety services. These are just a couple of examples of what can be possible when we work together. So thank you to the South Coast Air Quality Management District, to my fellow honorees for your leadership. I'm encouraged to be on this path with you, working towards a shared vision for a healthy and safe community where all residents can thrive. Thank you for this beautiful award. I appreciate it.
Congratulations, Supervisor Mitchell. Thank you for your leadership to improve our communities. Your dedication and contributions are an aspiration, an inspiration. At this time, I would like to introduce Dr. Marcus Goody Goodlow. Dr. Goodlow, if you are not familiar, was born in South Central Los Angeles in the city of Compton. He is the author of the book, Kingmaker, Applying Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s Leadership Lessons in Working with Athletes and Entertainers. So right now, let's turn our attention to this video by Dr. Goodlow.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I'm honored to be with you today. Martin Luther King Jr. was born on January 15th, 1929 in Atlanta, Georgia. He was taken from this earth, though, at a very young age of 39 by an assassin's bullet on April 4th, 1968. You know, Dr. King did not choose the time or manner in how he entered this world, nor in how he left. But what he did control was the decisions, the relationships, and the passions in between his birth date and his death date. I'm talking about the dash. Dr. King, no doubt, asked questions when in his youth about things like, why am I here? What is the purpose for my life? What am I to make of the gifts and talents given to me? And with those questions, Dr. King was committed to live his life with a posture and mindful of others. Dr. King spoke out on issues of civil rights and also on matters related to voting, public accommodations, as well as equal access to colleges and universities, and even on matters of the environment, such as the clean air and clean water and clean soil. Dr. King felt like issues rather related to social justice were not mutually exclusive to that of environmental justice. In fact, on his 1967 speech on Christmas Day, Dr. King said these words: "It really boils down to this, that all life is interrelated. We are caught in an inescapable network of mutuality, tied into a single garment of destiny. Whatever affects one directly affects all indirectly." I love that. It has been said that courage is not the absence of fear, it is the absence of self. Make no mistake about it, Martin Luther King Jr. was a person of great courage because he was always mindful of others. King would have been 93 years old had he lived to see this day, January 15, 2022. And change has come since he's left this earth, no doubt. But the change I speak of has not come just simply because the passage of time, tick-tock, tick-tock, but it's come because of the courageous acts and efforts of people like the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., whose life we celebrate today. In fact, environmentalists credit members of the civil rights movement, including Dr. King, with the passage of things like the 1970 Clean Air Act and the 1972 Clean Water Act. They credit the civil rights movement because it served as a framework in terms of how we as citizens can engage on substantive issues and make our case to members of the elected government in which we are part of. Dr. King said these words: "It is always right to do right." And that's my hope for us today, that we're mindful of opportunities for us to do right, to lift our voices on the things that matter, addressing issues related to the environment, issues of voting rights, issues related to dignity and welfare for all. Dr. King was confident that if we postured ourselves as that of a good Samaritan, being mindful of the others, being willing to look down and to help lift others up, this could be a great nation. Acclaimed artist Lecrae said these words: "If we are going to acknowledge the work of the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., we should also acknowledge the work that needs to be done. I pray we don't celebrate and ignore the legacy of equality and justice that he was fighting for." That's my hope. That's my prayer, that we will continue the work from this day forward. Thank you guys so much for having me. Take care, and happy birthday, Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.
Thank you, Dr. Goodlow, for those insightful remarks to inspire personal action. That's the thing, right? If each of us did just one thing for environmental justice and clean air, together we can make a big difference. Please watch this South Coast AQMD video, Do One Thing, in order to learn about some things you can do too. And afterwards, we will be treated to gospel music by Mr. Tim Kepler.
One of the remarkable things about regional air pollution, sort of air pollution that blankets the whole basin, is the variety of impacts that it has. It's bad for the lungs, causes lung cancer, certainly exacerbation of asthma. It exacerbates chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, but it also has an impact on other organs in the body. We have some studies in which we've seen associations between air pollution and autism in children, and with a whole variety of other health endpoints that are major causes of chronic disease of modern life.
So here in the Los Angeles Basin, in the general metropolitan area, we have specific problems in the area, particularly of air pollution, particulate matter, which you can think of as little pieces of dirt floating in the air, and ozone, which we're infamous for in Southern California. Those have long-term effects and short-term effects on the people living in this region.
It's been well established by decades of research that exposure to particulate matter is associated with increases in daily mortality, long-term increases in mortality, and in fact, in places where particulate matter has been reduced, you see decreases in death rates, really dramatic decreases.
Across California, there are about somewhere in the order of 7,000 deaths a year that can be attributed just to heart attacks and heart disease from this fine particulate matter, sort of regional particulate matter that blankets the whole area.
It's cancer, it's respiratory health, it's asthma, it's diabetes, and it's cardiovascular health. All of which, by the way, are the top reasons why Americans die, and die early.
Imagine this glass jar represents the air quality in Southern California before rapid population growth during the 20th century. With a dramatic increase in population came industrialization, including manufacturing facilities, refineries, power plants, smoke, fumes, and an ever-growing number of automobiles. Rapid industrial progress during World War II boosted the region's economy and created thousands of good jobs. However, industrialization also brought new waves of smog, and by the late 1940s, air pollution in Southern California had reached critical levels. Something needed to be done. Agencies were formed, regulations were established, and slowly the tide of air pollution began to ebb. Great strides were made during the 1960s, 70s, and 80s with significant reductions in emissions from most all the major sources of air pollution. But there is still more that needs to be done.
Over the last 40 years, almost all of the regional pollutants have decreased pretty consistently. That's a triumph. It demonstrates what we can do if we put our mind to it and make the kind of decisions as a society that we need to reduce air pollution exposures.
So many people think that because air pollution seems so overwhelming, there's nothing I can do. It's sort of beyond me. It's somebody else's problem. It's a big issue. We can't take care of it. But really, the choices you make in your everyday life do affect air quality.
When we consume, when we buy things, we ought to be more conscious about where things are produced, where things are made, but also about the idea of how did it get to my hand? What is the footprint of this item?
Everyone, wherever they live, has the opportunity to impact our environment, to impact the air that we breathe, if you want to say that. And little things help. So one of the things that we discuss here at Loma Linda is lifestyle.
What I told my parents and the kids is, instead of driving your car to practice, to the games every day, polluting diesel, polluting internal combustion engines, drive an alternative fuel vehicle, compressed natural gas, plug-in electric, all electric, hydrogen fuel cell, or there's alternative forms of transportation. Take mass transit. Every week I ride my bike to work, 10 miles to downtown Los Angeles. Every week I take the train. We can all do something to reduce pollution from mobile sources and clean up our air and protect the health of all our children.
So we're not necessarily trying to convert people's lives entirely to have them drop a car and pick up a bike. We just want them to address those short distance trips that represent trips to the market, trips to get a haircut, trips to get a local sandwich at a local business. We really want them to start considering bicycling for those short distance trips.
One thing we could do to help clean up the air is be part of the change. I don't think you have to be drastic, but just one day a week. Walk to school with your kids. Walk to the cafe instead of driving. Enjoy our neighborhoods and be out on the streets and sidewalks with your neighbors.
So think about it. If we all do one thing in our communities, right? Let's put this in perspective here. We all do one thing in our communities. We can all contribute to a clean air future. One thing you can do right now, though, is download South Coast AQMD's award-winning smartphone app, where you can monitor the local air quality, receive air quality news alerts, and find alternative vehicle charging and fueling stations. As well as this, you can learn about incentive programs, and there's even more. Speaking of incentive programs, please go to South Coast AQMD's website at aqmd.gov.gov to learn about how you could qualify for the Replace Your Ride program to help you purchase a clean air vehicle or purchase electric equipment to maintain your land and other programs. History says during some of his toughest days, Dr. King found strength and comfort through hymns, spirituals, and other religious music. It is now our pleasure to bring back Mr. Tim Kepler for some musical inspiration. So everyone, even though we're at home, we're on Zoom, get up off your feet, celebrate, and share Tim's positive energy.
Well, thank you so much once again. It has been a truly honor for me to be a part of this Martin Luther King Day celebration. I want everyone out there to know that we all have the power to make change.
Welcome, everybody. We all have that power to make change. Come on, put them hands together wherever you at. We got the power to make change. Oh, yeah, yeah. I went up, I've been down, seen a lot of things in my life, traveling round. But there's one thing I'm confessing, that there's power in the blessing, in victory's won. I had to learn to stand and fight with power when trouble comes. Going from above, I found power, yeah. In the name of the Lord, I got the victory. Power. In the name of the Lord, I've been out in the city, been put to the test. I've been down on my luck, but now I'm blessed. So stay strong in the Lord and in His power. I use His armor, yeah. I got my breastplate, shield of helmet of salvation, belt, sword, standing in His love. I got power, oh yeah. In the name of the Lord, come on. I got the victory. Power. In the name of the Lord. Come on, we got the power. I got power, yeah. Oh, I got the power. In the name of the Lord. Come on. I got the victory. Power. In the name of the Lord. What is my strength that I should bear? And what is my strength? I just keep enduring. Oh, I look to you to lead my steps, light my path, and make it straight. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, this world amounts to nothing without your power and your glory. I just need more of it. Oh, this world amounts to nothing without you, Lord. Yeah. Come on, here we go. We all got the power to make change. We can do
all things through the Lord who strengthens us. Power, yeah, I got the power in the name of the Lord. I got the victory. Power in the name of the Lord. I got power, yeah, I got the power in the name of the Lord. Come on. I got the victory. Power in the name of the Lord. I got power. We all have the power to create change.
That was amazing. Amazing. Thank you, Tim, for feeding our soul, inspiring us through your beautiful voice. I would like to invite now, again, Reverend Minor back for the benediction.
And so the blessing comes at the benediction. Today, I bless you with strength to continue in the struggle. But remember, the struggle is yours and mine, but the battle belongs to the Lord. I bless you to keep the dream implanted in Dr. King alive. May it grow in you. I bless you to provide social justice, economic justice, ecological justice, medical justice, and environmental justice. You are empowered to be progressive people in the struggle. But remember, the struggle is yours and mine, but the battle belongs to the Lord. So remember the golden rule. Treat people the way you would like to be treated. Value God's creation, the environment. Do the right thing. Do just one thing. Be a part of the change. Breathe in the breath of God. And this is the air we breathe. And so I bless you with abundant blessings. Amen.
Man, it's been really nice to be a part of this. So thank you. Thank you, Reverend Minor. It's been an absolute pleasure having you with us here today. As we close this event, I want to encourage you to take some time to reflect a bit on the speakers we heard from today. We all hope that today's program has inspired you to live, to dream, to believe in a clean air future too, for all of our health and our quality of life, you know? We continue to find meaning in the life of Dr. King through the words he wrote, through the example he left for us, for everyone at the South Coast AQMD. They're going to continue forward with the march towards ever cleaner air so that no community is left behind. Before we end today, let's offer another round of applause to everyone who joined us here this morning. Thank you to California Secretary of State, Dr. Shirley Weber, LA County Supervisor Holly J. Mitchell, Dr. Marcus Goodlow, Reverend Minor, and Tim Kepler, of course, as well as the community organizations that provided video messages. Thank you to everyone for participating in this year's program. Very importantly, thanks to all of you for joining in today's Day of Service event, honoring and keeping alive the legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. I want to thank you all for having me here today and wish you all an amazing new year. And we hope to see you at Cesar Chavez Day of Remembrance. The event will be Saturday, March 22nd, 2022. Can you believe it is 2022? It feels weird saying it. Happy Dr. King Day.